So after a short 1 week delay, the final episode of Soma Spider So What has arrived, and what a final episode it was. Quality was a lot more tight on the production, and just the storytelling in general, while of course there is a ton of story left to tell, they ended and kind of answered some big things that I think a lot of anime-onlys wanted to see before the show wrapped up. Though I do want to jump into the reason why there was a delay to begin with first. If you don't care about production details and you just want the review, there's obviously timestamps as you can see in the video bar itself or in the description if you want to click there. But there was an interview with someone who worked on the anime, and Anime News Network talked about it, and it's just very heartbreaking to see just how vile the anime community can be, whether people really hate something or just kind of shitting on those who are literally putting their life on the line here. They're killing themselves animating these things. When it comes to anime production, it's never a single studio, there's always outsourcing, there's always multiple people involved. And unfortunately, the last handful of episodes that we watched previously, as you can probably tell this episode, it looked like some of the tightest Spider production to date. The last few definitely wasn't. They actually had to redo all of this other outsourced content because, simply put, something happened in the backline that caused the main studio Millipedes to have to redo it all from scratch, and the number of comments they were getting, it was getting to them to the point that it felt like people just wanted them to kill themselves. Real people work on anime. There's nothing ever wrong with not liking something. That should always be encouraged. If you don't like something, you can say why you don't like it. But when it comes to the anime community, overreacting and acting like, an anime ruined your life because the production wasn't the best, it's something that happens far too often. It's why I'll never be like that on camera. A majority of channels will go up and will rant and will pull their hair out. They don't actually feel that way. They're clearly putting on an act for views. The fact that real people work on this means real people seek out content. And to put into perspective, I reviewed a show last season called Full Dive. It wasn't the best show ever, but it was a fun one for me. And I had not only one of the dub voice actors for the English dub comment on the last video, I actually had someone who worked on the animation who was saying, hey, I wish I could have cleaned it up better, but, I'm proud of what I was able to do. You never know who's listening. And the people who listen, who probably are very offended by, the takes that are being thrown their way, probably aren't commenting, and it's just unfortunate. Kindness goes a long way in this medium, and while some people may not want to hear that in an episode 24 review of Spider, given the amount of, outright hate I've seen towards the studio and staff behind this for the last month, it may not have been the best, but especially given their circumstances, you gotta give them a lot of props for what they're able to pull off with a 24 back-to-back series. Now, in terms of the actual episode, it was fantastic. It's without doubt one of the strongest episodes, I would say, in the entire 24 episode run. We finally get the confirmation of what many of us have been thinking. Girl has to be our Spider. She will evolve into this form, and we get to see exactly that. But how would she survive this demonic area blast that was coming her way? Well, she may have an immortal body, but she doesn't have an immortal soul. But she has an ability with the mother's egg laying that she was able to actually plant one of her brains in one of her offsprings should anything happen to her main body. And seeing her then evolve into her new form and then, trying to protect baby Bloodsucker, it was just nice to kind of get a confirmation of what was going on. Of course, we weren't going to wrap up Shun's modern day story of what was happening. I heard after basically where season 1 would end, more or less, it doesn't super focus back on the human side all too much. It seemingly is probably going to go back on the Demon Lord side, which given the fact that they are kind of the unlikely heroes, it makes total sense. But it's nice to kind of clear the air on why things are happening the way they were, right? Why would Ariel the Demon Lord want to work with someone like Kumiko, right? What would give her the reason? Well, from her perspective, the attack that she just did is a soul-destroying attack. If that wasn't enough, clearly nothing she can do will ever destroy her. So for her, it's better to have an ally that's seemingly unkillable than to just continue a fight that neither of you are ever going to win. Obviously, the viewer and Kumiko herself understands that, hey, should she do anything at that moment, she would die, but you don't want to say that. You don't want to lay your hand on the table and reveal that you don't actually have a great hand in cards, you actually have a shitty one. So the fact that that's how that alliance happened, how did Sophia turn this man into a vampire? Oh, he was about to die for her. How they all got roped together, and the fact that Ariel, despite having very much a Kumiko-style personality mixed with her serious hard-tone persona, is basically trying to save the world. Kumiko herself is someone who just wants to live a casual, carefree life. But if that's what she wants, unfortunately that means she's going to have to protect the world. So she's basically roped into being that typical isekai protagonist saving the world. That's what Shum, that's what Hugo wanted to do, or Rule, those classic things where we have our spider just wanting to do something simple, but has to do it one way or another. Seeing that Polymus here, literally is pretty much Terminator. So the fact that he has all these individual bodies that he is using in order to try to destroy the Demon Lord. I mean, elves in any medieval fantasy story are generally the biggest dicks. I mean, out of every video game and movie and TV series, books that I have experienced, more times than not, the majority of the elven race are assholes. That's just how they are written. They're these high mighty, they look down upon everyone, usually get one person who joins the main hero's party that is an elf, that's a really good person that wants to change the foundation, but for the most part, they're dicks. And the dicks in this series, the elves, are no different. I mean, it's kind of understandable, and it's honestly quite rootable, which I never would have said earlier on, but, Ariel wanting to completely destroy the elven race on this show, it makes total sense given the fact that their leader is using technology that obviously is no longer a part of the main world, given the fact that it seemingly destroyed itself, but he's still using it, and he pretty much is doing everything for self-serving reasons. It's pretty easy to root for a demon lord wanting to destroy leaders and people like that, even if the general elven civilian isn't the worst person ever. Tightly written, and I love the back and forth between the past and the present. It kind of explains why things were happening the way they were. And it's very interesting to me to just see how they decide to end episode 24, because to be able to wrap it up with, because we have the Shun battle, then we have, okay, we need to see her new form. That has to happen before the show wraps up. You can't leave us, because there's a very good possibility we'll never get a season 2, and most people will probably never check out more, and those who do will have to read the novel. So how do you wrap it up? Well, you do almost like a typical hero-like fantasy ending. Well, of course, there's still plot points that are not tied up. I mean, this is a very long, ongoing light novel series. I think it adapted 4 or 5 light novels, if I'm not mistaken. So, I like how it leaves you off satisfied, at least it did for me, while saying, if they make more, absolutely, hopefully it'll be a split course so we don't run into the same type of production. But still, if not, I mean, the show and just the way they explain things is so good that this might be the first light novel series I ever purchased next to Monogatari. That's the only light novels I've ever purchased, just because, I'm generally not so engrossed to the point that I need to see more. This is one that I'm going to hold on to hope eventually will. It will surprise us and will give a surprise second season. If not, then I will definitely pick up those novels and it will be something I'll add to my collection, which I don't purchase too many series, but this is one that I could definitely see myself owning every volume to. But I guess we'll see, right? I mean, it was action-packed, the production was tight. I'm surprised it was only a 1-week break, because generally when it comes to anime production, you buy out TV slots, right? And if you miss your slot, if they've already kind of purchased, or a different anime has purchased, you have to find a new one. You have to say, okay, I want to do it next week. And they'll say, well, this new anime's coming out, and they've already purchased that time slot, so you have to find a different TV station, or you have to bundle it with the Blu-ray. So the fact that it was only a 1-week break, and the fact that they had to redo all of the other work from the previous weeks while simultaneously having to do this new episode, a lot of people shit on this studio. I say bravo. I say you guys did a hell of a job. Most likely, they'll never watch this video. Most likely, most of them won't, but you never know who's watching, right? And I'm very happy about this production. It wasn't the best visually 24/7, but it was something that I could feel the passion being poured into it. And mistakes happen. Anime is not an easy industry. It never will be. Things probably will never change in my lifetime, but I can at least say, the people involved, even if you're not animating things to the best of what I consider to be your ability, shit happens, and you're probably eating 1 cup of ramen while literally giving your entire day to a single cut of anime that probably paid you less than what that cup of ramen actually cost. So thank you for putting so much dedication into a work like Solo Spider So What. Let me know your thoughts on the final episode. Are you going to be checking out the source material eventually, or are you going to hold on to the hope that maybe we'll get a season 2 someday down the future, which might not be impossible given the fact that Crunchyroll is behind part of the funding, if I'm remembering correctly, so you never know what could happen. Let me know down below, drop a like to help promote the video, and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.